let them know? Because you are Beyonce. And
Beyonce. Come on, check. I ain't sorry.
Let me see you rolling the polish around me. With the top down, feeling it.
I don't know how to relax.
What? Did I win? But sometimes shit go down when it's $1 billion on the elevator. But sometimes shit go down when it's $1 billion on the elevator.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Cielo here, and I'm back with another segment of Obsessed with Astrology as part of Makeup and Mythology Monday. So make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. I make new videos every Monday and usually Friday. I like to do facey feedback, and then I'll suggest with Dom or discuss other social political topics. If you want to help support my channel, make sure you can go to patreon.com/DomDiggityNoDoubt for exclusive content and early videos, and let's just dive in. Here we go. You see I'm just going in there with like all the powder and such. Yep, love it. Today we will be talking about the 6th sign of the zodiac, Virgo. So if your birthday falls between August 23rd and September 22nd, that means that Virgo is your sun sign. Isn't that peachy? The key date there is to remember that September 22nd is the autumn equinox, which means it's maybe like a month before daylight savings or so. So when we start going into autumn, it's gonna start to get colder, days are gonna be shorter, you know, all that jazz. So we just talked about Leo being our fixed fire sign. That is the peak of summer. Virgo is our mutable earth sign. That is our transition from summer into fall. Why did I say it like that? Like I was a newscaster. Into fall. Just gonna get some earthy green. And then of course, as we get into autumn, we need something else a little bit more autumny on our face. So you're gonna get some orange in here. Virgo is a mutable sign like Gemini, which mutable signs means that they are highly adaptable, that they can work well with change, and mutable signs are highly flexible and they adapt well to change, like some of the other cardinal and fixed signs who may have more difficulty with it. Both two of these mutable signs, both Gemini and Virgo, are ruled by the planet Mercury, which is the planet of communication. Ha ha ha. Fascinating, right? Since Mercury is the planet of problem solving and communication, its power manifests in these two signs very differently. Communication takes the forefront with Gemini. Gemini are great talkers and they see the world as like a big bowl of information that they can't wait to get their sweet little hands on. Now, for Virgo, the Mercury powers manifest differently in the fact that they see communications as a means to facilitate. So, Virgo people are very inclined to problem solving and like maintaining order and peace. They are known for being very rational, but also very detail oriented, which I think is fascinating about their sign. I feel like that's how you can tell like we get along, because like Taurus and colors called Blitz, like Taurus and Capricorn, Virgo is an earth sign. Earth is the element, meaning that they are very stable and very loyal. Hashtag earth sign supremacy. And all of us earth signs are very practical, very reliable, very loyal, but like slow to anger. And so when we go off, like it's nuclear. And you honestly probably 9 times out of 10 had it coming, because I don't really get mad easily. Most earth signs don't. So it's like if you really pushing our buttons, like that's when you're gonna see a whole different animal come out. It's actually the one sign that's not an animal. A sign's actually a person. A Virgo is. All of us are extremely when it comes to like friends and family, but romance can be another story, especially for some Virgos, especially some male Virgos. You know who you are. Leave it at that.
But that's none of my business.
Wow.
As the mutable earth sign, Virgo changes through the purification of their body and becoming a healing force for others. Etymology of the word Virgo is really messy, because most people have translated it as virgin, but it's more so meant to mean maiden, just as in like an unmarried woman is a maiden. Like I'm a maiden. Probably never gonna get married because men suck. So I could always marry a woman. And we could be two maidens in love. That'd be great, wouldn't it? And of course, this, like our other and Virgo, like our other zodiac signs, comes from Latin. And again, the idea is that a maiden is a chaste woman, because you weren't supposed to get laid before marriage. Sounds like it sucks. I'm just kidding. Like almost none of the words really line up. All the words for Virgo kind of translate to virgin. And there's different languages. Only one that kind of works is French. Vierge, which is French for maiden. The rest of them are all like different. Like you have donzella, doña, señorita, señora, like that. For most languages, talk about a maiden, someone who's not married, or not someone, a woman who's not married. So it's quite interesting. Virgo, the maiden of our astrology, is based on various fertility goddesses. And it's like, how can one be both a fertility goddess and a virgin? Something's not quite adding up there, you know? Something's not quite adding up there. Which means now it's time for us to go back in time and figure out how Virgo the Virgin got purity watched pretty washed. They sterilize her, basically. Virgo is associated with the great goddesses, also known as the virgin goddesses, also known as the great harlot. Yeah, I feel like those are very conflicting ideas. So this is a very interesting one, to say the least. To say the least. Said their divine power to be both mothers and virgin comes from a consort within themselves. Or no, so their divine power to be both mothers and virgins comes from within themselves. Not from a consort or a god. You know, like you other basic bitches. I'm just saying though. Virgo goddesses are goddesses of fertility and of grain. And grain may be associated, especially in these beginning of these Middle Eastern societies, grain was their staple crop. Like corn in North and South America and rice in Asia. Grain wheat was the main crop in kingdoms like Mesopotamia. So talking years BCE, before the invention of nation states. From as early as 2900 BCE, the ancient Sumerian goddess Niseba was the goddess of writing, grain, accounting, and the harvest, and she would take records of the grain harvest, how much grain was raised and harvested, and what part of the year that it was raised and harvested. She also took accounts of where the grain was traded and distributed to, and the writing had developed more as they began trading more within the Mesopotamian and Sumerian kingdoms and villages. So she was revered in Mesopotamia until her name was changed to Nabu in 1600 BCE. Her name is Nabu. My business. Okay. In 10th century BC, the Babylonians began referring to Virgo's constellation as the furrow. And the furrow represents the goddess Shala. And she is holding one ear of grain, as grain was a very lucrative and staple crop for the Mesopotamians and the Babylonians. Now, the Mesopotamian goddess Ashtar is a really famous one, and she's widely revered across the world, honestly, to this day still. And she was the fertility goddess that found that her husband Tammuz of the harvest was trapped in the underworld and went to save him, because, you know, honestly, fertility goddesses have no fear. Like, fear for what? She's already the baddest. What is she to be afraid of? Nothing. Then also the Egyptian goddess Isis is another incarnation of Virgo that is still highly revered to this day. And she also saved her husband. And Isis is known as the Great Mother, and she is believed to have such a profound connection to the afterlife that she could bring people back from the dead. Just one of those things, pretty cool. And she was said to have this divine feminine power within her. And again, yeah, she also like Ishtar rescues her husband after her husband is Osiris, who she breathes his, like, uses her divine feminine powers, breathes her, like, his life back into him after his brother had torn him to pieces. Like, she literally finds the pieces and put them back together again. Like, all the Virgo incarnates are like real ride or dies. Oh god. Might say like that. Oh god. Now, Ishtar and Isis are predecessors to the probably more well-known story of Persephone and Demeter from Greek mythology, but they're all various versions of the Virgo goddess. Demeter is the goddess of grand fertility and has a daughter named Persephone. Persephone is abducted by Hades, the god of the underworld, and she is made co-ruler of the underworld. Demeter was so upset that she refuses to allow any harvest to grow. As a compromise, Zeus decreed that Persephone would return home each year to help Demeter with the harvest. This myth is used to explain the cycle of seasons from spring to winter. The Virgo constellation has become connected to Persephone because, like the spring goddess Virgo's, stars are most visible 6 months of the year, usually in May. Virgo is also the virgin goddess of justice, purity, and innocence, named Astrea. Her cultural resurgence during the European Renaissance began the virgin washing of the goddesses. Again, remember that in Latin, Virgo means self-sufficient or self-contained, which is one of the big characteristics that Virgos are known for. Many people interpret the Virgo symbol at the end with a crossing, symmetrical hieroglyphic, to represent the crossing of a woman's leg to protect her flower, as it were. The loop also can be interpreted as the never-ending cycle of life, death, and rebirth, the natural cycle. And the loop is a symbolic of karma. What goes around comes around, which helps guide many people with Virgo placements in their lives of becoming and sustaining a life that's very self-sufficient, self-centered, and self-contained. Really, self-centered sounds like a bad way to say this, but Virgo people, it's all very fascinating, very interesting. I love them with the Persephone, and this is the final look. Yep, goddess vibes. Love the blonde. You like the blonde? Let me know what you think about the blonde below. Yep, and let's jump back into it. It's time for the big 6 in Virgo. Virgo Sun. This Virgo symbol, Virgin, shows up in the lives of Virgos through a love of all that is natural and a certain purity of spirit that keeps Virgos self-sufficient and self-contained, at least on the surface. Virgos are sensitive to their surroundings and they tend to embarrass easily. They are generally reticent when faced with anyone or anything new. However, they often feel comfortable when they can talk up a storm, fine living in the background as long as they feel useful and appreciated. Solar Virgos have a strong sense of responsibility. Not all Virgos are workaholics. However, when Solar Virgos are not involved in some sort of project, there is generally a vague feeling of discontent. Some are exacting and thorough, and those Virgos who have committed themselves to do a less perfect job will generally feel incomplete. Moon in Virgo. Lunar Virgos have security in little things in life. They feel most content when they've straightened out all the details of everyday life. Many of them enjoy running errands, paying bills, and balancing the books. They take care of these things happily, although some won't let it on. Lunar Virgos are quite practiced in nagging and complaining, as long as they're appreciated. However, these people will help you take care of your life too. They are at their best when they feel useful and needed, and if someone needs help, they're generally the first to jump up and take on the task. Virgo moons are being underachievers. While it may be true that lunar Virgos can lack self-confidence, many are quite simply content with living regular, unassuming lives. They appreciate simplicity and are most often comfortable when they're not getting too much attention from the world at large. Lunar Virgos are easily overwhelmed by pressure and stress. They worry incessantly that there's too much to think about, and they know their limits. Arguably, the worst position for a lunar Virgo is without a steady routine or a satisfying job. They need to feel useful, they are reliable and trustworthy, and others opt to turn to them for advice. Mercury in Virgo. Mercury and Virgo people are rarely flashy in their communication style, but they do thoroughly appreciate it when others acknowledge their brain power. These people love to keep track of the details. They can be a little high-strung when things are not orderly or when things seem out of control. They do put a lot of energy into taking care of day-to-day practical matters. Adept at organizing, planning on a short-term scale, and doing errands. They pay their bills on time, enjoy learning details of the trade, and generally don't balk at secretarial tasks. They function best when they or others have laid out exactly what they have to do. These people are considered rather useful in their work, and as friends, they have a handle on the details of things they do. Venus and Virgo. Venus and Virgo people are not the flirtatious sort. Instead, their appeal lies in their dedication, their willingness to work on the relationship, and to make the relationship work in real terms. Unlike Venus and Leo, they won't try to impress you with grand gifts or promises. Their gifts are less showy, but perhaps far more generous. Gives a devotion and attention to details about you. Venus and Virgo men and women quietly and often slowly make their way into your heart. They're quite sensitive in love, even insecure, and this reserved and loner-like quality is part of their appeal. They prefer to play it safe in their relationships, and they need to be confident that you like them before they make a move. They are great listeners. Make it a habit to observe and learn all of your in and outs. Their love can be of kindergarten variety. They show care by being nagging or criticizing. Remember that they're not trying to hurt you when they're pulling up flaws in your thinking, plans, or even character. They're truly trying to help. To nondescript people who have largely gone unnoticed, show-offs and know-it-alls, turn them off. So they won't like me. Mars in Virgo. These productive, busy people are goal-oriented and practical people. Although they can be a little bit scattered at times simply because they're doing so many things at any given time, Venus-Mars people get things done quite well. They have a knack for handling a wide variety of tasks at once and a tendency to take on perhaps too much at the same time. Most Mars and Virgo natives are not particularly aggressive by nature, although they can be a little hard-nosed and critical, rarely resort to pushing others around. Still, an annoyed Mars and Virgo native can be difficult to be around. Arouse their anger and they turn into a complaining, over-critical nags. Generally, these natives don't like to take themselves nuisances, but so this stage won't last long. But it is a sensitive position, however. It does not take much to make these people nervous. They are quite protective of their system of getting things done. Although rather humble in a general sense of life, they can be quite particular in their methods of how they organize to accomplish their goals, mostly with work. There is a nervous energy. Although they have some staying power, they can be restless and are not given to sticking with the same products for too long. Virgo ascendant, Virgo rising. People with Virgo rising are often a little bit understated in their personal mannerisms and appearance, although a lot depends on the position of Mercury, the ruling planet of Virgo, in the chart. Generally, there is an intelligent, reserved, or above Virgo rising individual that is unmistakable. They are generally somewhat shy people who need time to analyze things around them before they warm up to both situations and people. This quality can be reserved exactly as that, or it can be received as a rather standoffish, cool, or even critical manner, depending on the audience. One of the biggest personality traits of this position is body awareness. Virgo ascendants are sensitive to any discomfort or other signals their body gives them. Many are especially interested in concern with physical health, and some are attracted to mind-body awareness exercises such as yoga. Some have good appetites. There can also be an unmistakable fitness for what they put in their bodies and on their bodies. Human position can tend to attract people who need their help, and that is the big six for Virgo. What did you find most fascinating about the Virgo story? I was most fascinated that Virgo's not really a virgin, I guess in the traditional sense. But I mean, I guess it's just how the world's taken over by European Christian shame, and so that's why we now have the virgin, but it's really just fertility goddess, which is awesome. But let me know what you think. If comments below, especially if you have any Virgo placements. Let me know how accurate the descriptions were. But that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. You have a great day. Bye.